Hi, everybody. Let's get started with some basic HTML. And today we're just going to do some very basic stuff to get you started, and we'll move forward here in a day or two from this. So, we talked about HTML as hypertext markup language, and it is not a complete coding language traditionally. Although HTML has been updated and we're moving on version HTML5, which is approaching the functionality of a complete coding language. But nonetheless, let's not think of HTML as a fully functional coding language yet. It's designed to make web pages traditionally, and that's why the name hypertext is right there in the name. Hypertext would be, links that you can click on. But let's just not get ahead of ourselves, and let's just start making a little simple HTML. So the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to open Notepad on a PC or text editor on a Mac. So to do that on a PC of Windows 8 or later, you're going to open the start screen, which is the Windows symbol at the bottom left of your screen, and type in Notepad, and that way you'll be able to find the application and just double click on that and open it up. Or in Windows 7 or earlier, you go to Start, Programs, Accessories, and Notepad. I'm on a Mac, so I'm not demonstrating how to open Notepad, but it's the simplest text editor you can have. And there are other fantastic text editors, but we don't need to go there yet. We're so simple at this point that you don't need to do that. We'll talk more about other text editors and the functionalities that they have and how those can help you as we go on. But for right now, let's just use Notepad. Or if you're on a Mac, which is what I'm on, you're going to use TextEdit on the Mac, and you'll open that by going to the Finder and go to your applications and find TextEdit. And right here, you're going to see that in Preferences, Format, you're going to need to choose Plain Text. And open a new document. Under Open and Save, also in the Preferences, you're going to need to check the box that says Display HTML files as HTML code instead of formatted text. Okay, so those instructions are all here for you if you're on a Mac, and these are the instructions if you're on a Notepad, so you could always just pause the video and look at these to get those applications open. And the first thing I want you to do is just put in some super simple HTML, okay? And here's some right here. You don't even need to know what this means yet. You can just do it by copying the text that I've got here, and you're just going to click in your text editor and paste it in there, okay? So now I've got some simple HTML. And once you've done that, we're going to go ahead and save this. So to save it, you're going to go File, Save As in the Notepad menu, or File, Save As in the Mac. And I want you to name it index.htm. That's important because that'll allow your computer to find it. And you're going to set your encoding to UTF-8. And set it somewhere where it's easy for you to find. So I'm going to go copy for that name, or rather Command-C on my Mac. And I'm going to go back over to my text editor, and I'm going to go File, Save, and I will name it index.htm. And where are we going to save this at? I'm going to save it on my desktop to make it easy to find. And again, I'm using that UTF-8 codec. And I'm going to go there, and I'm just going to click Save. Now, to open that, I'm going to go to my Finder, and I'll go to Desktop and find that index file that I just had. And here it is. And I will right-click on that and click Open With. And I want to open it with the same text editor that I was using over here, which I think, let me see if it's Safari or not. It is Safari. So I'll go back to Finder, and I'm going to right-click. I'm going to go Open with Safari. And there it is. So this HTML that I've got right here creates that. So you can see your name is right here. So if I change this and I actually type in my name, and so now I've done that, and I go File, Save. Now if I refresh, It's going to open that file again, and now that I've changed it to Jason Smith, it's going to say Jason Smith. And right here, I've got a paragraph, and it just says blah, 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 and it opens like that, all right? So you've just created a super simple HTML file by using your text editor or your notepad, placing this simple text inside of the script, and then saving the file as instructed here, okay? And you've opened that with a browser. So I opened it with Safari, but you could use Chrome, Firefox, or Explorer. All of that stuff should open up an HTML file. And to open the file, remember, all you need to do is right-click and then open with, and then choose the browser that you want to open with. So I could have chosen Chrome. See, that's right here if I'd wanted to, but I'm not doing that. Let's see, Firefox is not showing up on here. Oh, I don't have it on this computer, but nonetheless, you could open it up with any web browser. So now let's take a look at headings. So inside of the body of this now, I'm going to change, and I'm just going to put in these 3 headings. And I'm copying and pasting. In fact, I've already got my name in there, so I'm just going to do copy in heading 2 and heading 3. I can't use the mouse to copy right now, and it's kind of counterintuitive. So there we go. I'm here, and now I've put in heading 2 and heading 3, and I'm going to get rid of this blah, blah, blah paragraph. So now all I've got in the HTML is that name in heading 1, then heading 2, then heading 3. I'll go File, Save, go back over here, and I can just refresh, and it goes back to the same file. And so you can see that with these tags, I've got H1 and closing H1. So H1 is the I always call these little Pac-Man, like the Pac-Man eating the thing, but it's not a bracket. It's like a sideways V, and then you close with that other one. And then I've got my name, and then I've got a backslash before H1 on this one, all right? And then for H2, which is a heading of secondary importance, and then heading 3, which is a heading of tertiary importance. So these are called tags, and these different tags format your text that you're going to put in the hypertext markup language. So inside of the tag, so we have to have an opening and closing. I've got the actual text. So here, as you can see, for heading 1, inside of the tags, I've got my name. And then for heading 2, it just says heading. And of course, if I change that to something else, I could, just put in RCC and do that, file, save. Now it's going to say RCC here. Okay, so you understand how that works. And it's important, you've got the doc type at the beginning, and then an opening tag telling it that it's HTML, and the closing HTML tag at the end. And then you've got your opening body and closing body tags, and inside of it, you've got the actual body of your HTML. So that's telling your browser to create this. So we'll go back over to slides, and let's talk for a second about lorem ipsum. So we're going to add some paragraphs and some content into what you're working on. And you're going to need to have something to fill in there. And instead of just typing blah, 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 you're going to use lorem ipsum. And lorem ipsum is a placeholder text. It's commonly used to demonstrate the visual form of a document without relying on meaningful content. Okay, so if you don't have content yet and you're trying to just come up with the visual aspect of a site, you use lorem ipsum, and then your clients, if you're a web designer, can give you the actual text, and you replace the lorem ipsum with the actual text. But by using lorem ipsum, you can tell what your site's going to look like when you format it. So just lorem ipsum comes from an old dissertation, The Extremes of Good and Evil by Cicero. Stuff's not really important, but this is an example of lorem ipsum right here. It's in Latin, right? maybe even Greek. I'm not sure if it's in Latin. Is a place where I don't know if it's Latin or Greek. But it doesn't matter for our purposes. The point is I want you to find some lorem ipsum to use. And now we can add paragraphs, and we could put in blah, 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 right? So let me copy this. And I will now put this inside of my HTML. So now I've added blah, 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 and I'll go File, Save. Now I can go back over here, refresh. And now I've got paragraphs because I've added a paragraph tag under each heading. But that doesn't really show me paragraphs, right? Because I don't have enough writing. That's why you use lorem ipsum. So if I go over here inside of the paragraphs, so here's how paragraphs work. Same sort of HTML structure. I've got the doc type HTML, then the opening HTML, then body. And I've got that first heading. And then I've got a paragraph tag right here. So that's the P inside of the brackets, and then closing P here. But that's real short, and it doesn't give you the form of a paragraph. So instead, here I've used the same structure, but I've put some lorem ipsum in there. Now go over to my HTML document. Put this in there, save it, go over here and refresh. Now you can kind of get a feel for what paragraphs look like, okay? It doesn't, these aren't super long paragraphs, but it does give you a better idea. And look, I can resize and sort of get a feel for how it'll look when resized, depending on the browser that your user is viewing on and how they've sized their browser, okay? So now you've been able to add headings and tags, and you've added some paragraphs. So this is a super duper simple HTML document. And you know, you got to crawl before you can walk, and that's what we're doing here. So what I want you to do is just set up a very simple HTML document like this with some lorem ipsum in it. And you can just Google lorem ipsum, LOREMIPSUM, and then you type in lorem ipsum generator. And you'll see that on the web, there's all these different lorem ipsum generators. And there's funny lorem ipsum generators that don't actually use the traditional lorem ipsum and use stuff from different sources. See, here's one of Mashable, 56 unique lorem ipsum generators. I'd like for you to look through and find a funny lorem ipsum or just one that's interesting to you, but it's fine if you just want to use traditional lorem ipsum, but I want you to find a generator where you can get some lorem ipsum from. It would be fun, and you'll see as this assignment moves on that if you could find one that is like, they have Star Wars lorem ipsums and Simpsons lorem ipsum. They have all kinds of stuff, and you can go out and find them yourself. So try and find an interesting lorem ipsum to use. It'll make your assignment a little more fun, and I'll show you what I mean by that when we get on to the next element of this assignment. And then just create this simple HTML document with headings and paragraphs in it, and upload that to the assignment so that I can see that you have found your text editor, you've grasped this idea of tagging and how to make simple paragraphs and headings, and upload that to the assignment, and we'll move on from here, and you'll see what we're going to build up to eventually. All right, look forward to seeing your work, and until next time, everybody.